Okay, we are on pages 14 and 15 now, okay? So before we do, let's go back to our notes, type out what we need to talk about. Pages 12 through 13. If you're at home, you have two parts. This is part 1 video, and what we're videoing now is part 2. Okay, so on the previous page, it tells us a little bit about the stones. We've got lintels. Let me zoom in for you.
Do we need to push will it already be on the left?
Yes. Lintels are the top stones. Saracen are the large upright stones. So the large ones that go up and down. And what were the small ones called? Me too, yes. Blue stones, but they have a greenish tint. Smaller stones are blue stones. Now, we got this in the reading, but we also got it from a caption. Although it's also from a caption, we're not going to highlight it yet. We don't need to. So it's about the stones, basically. Lintels are the ones that go up top like this. Saracens are the large upright ones that stand up like this, and the smaller ones that stand upright are blue stones, none of which are from that area, okay? They're all from a different location. Very heavy. They are man-made. So we're now going to ask ourselves, where did they get these stones and how did they get them? Yeah. Yep, just talking about the stones. That's it. It also talks about it being a residential area. It's not really right now, though. Yeah, sharpen. Oh, sure. Go. All right. All right, now we're on 14-15. So back to your book. We've got quite a few captions, quite a few pictures on both sides. Hold on. Technical difficulty. Okay. All right, so let's look at this picture. This is a good representation. I think originally it looked like this in a whole circle. So all of them had the Saracens and lintels in the whole circle originally.
Because in that picture at the beginning
yeah.
of the book, it was a drawing.
Whole circle in the drawing. All right, let's look down here at the caption. Stonehenge was designed so that on the longest day of the year, the sun rises past the so-called heel stones seen here in the middle background, and then through these linked Saracens. Oh, this is important for us to understand. They coincide with the longest day of the year and the shortest day of the year. Interesting. Could that have something to do with the reason that they were made? Yeah, definitely. All right, let's look at the bottom. Walking around Stonehenge is easier to see this mortise far right, which is at ground level, than the tenon left, which is at the top of the standing Saracen. All right, so we've got a mortise, which looks like what? A hole, kind of, an indentation, right? And then we've got tenons, which are what? Like what? A point, yeah. So this fits into that like a Lego, a giant Lego. Yes.
That might be also how they stay together.
That's exactly how they stay together. Remember in our Kahoot yesterday, those were 2 of them that we didn't know yet? That's exactly how they created them, like giant Legos to piece together so that they don't fall apart. All right, let's read this page. Then we're going to write it down because that's important info. When Stonehenge was in use, the entire outer ring of Saracens was connected by lintels, like we just said here. It just looked like this all the way around in a circle. The crossing stones were held in place with mortise and tenon joints, like we just looked at, like big Legos. On the bottom of the lintel, a mortise, the carved out portion, fits over the standing Saracen's tenon, the part sticking up out of the top. This is probably the same way wooden beams were attached in homes at that time period. Have you guys ever heard of Lincoln logs?
Yeah.
It's the same concept, okay? Same thing. Let's go back to our notes. So this is page 14. Let's do picture. Remember, we're going to highlight it, whatever color we've chosen after we're done. Tenon and mortise, joints, and I'm going to put in parentheses, what did I compare it to? Legos or Lincoln Logs, like big Legos, in parentheses, were used to keep the stones in place. Cool. Basically, all the way around in a circle. That's what it looked like.
I need to highlight yellow.
Yes, after we're done with our picture and caption. Oh, wait, we do need to add one thing about the winter solstice is what you call it. Placed to highlight longest day of the year, which we already had, sadly. I wish we could have done it during. Place to highlight longest day of the year. We don't know how yet, but we know that it does. It says the sunset and sunrise come through at an angle. I'm going to highlight it. Whatever color I've chosen for my picture. Always try to use the same color for this one. I don't care. Remember how to unhighlight? Don't remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't you hit unhighlight?
Transparent. Yeah. All right, so now we know how they're put together, but that still doesn't seem like the best way. Although most of them are still standing, which is very rare.
Oh,
Let's look on 15 now. It's okay. Scientists have been able to determine that the heavy Saracens were all moved about 18 miles to be raised at Stonehenge. Okay, so the big tall ones, these, were moved 18 miles. I don't know about you guys, but that's a long ways to haul a really heavy stone.
Was it still like in DC?
Yes, so they didn't have similar technologies we have today.
Gosh, I heard you that.
Now, here's a different thing. The smaller blue stones come from 150 miles away. They're smaller. They're not that much smaller. It seems like it. They're not that much smaller.
Why would they move so far?
We're going to ask ourselves that same question as we continue. You're right. Usually when visitors see the stones, they ask how the builders moved. 35 tons of rock. 35 tons. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. Over a hill and dale. So there's hills all through the countryside too. Mike is sure we will never be able to answer that. Y'all, this is crazy. Listen to that. Mike, the one that's in charge of this excavation, doesn't think we'll ever understand how. That's crazy because he's the one in charge of this and has uncovered so many secrets and mysteries to this place. He even doesn't think we're going to figure that out. That's insane. At this point, there weren't very many ideas suggesting wheels were invented either, okay? Mike is sure we will never be able to answer that. Without writing, the builders cannot tell us, and the materials they would have used, such as sledges made out of wood or ropes made out of leather, could not survive the thousands of years of English weather. Instead of guessing how the stones were moved, archaeologists continue to ask more interesting questions. Why? All right? So they use sleds, possibly. He's not sure. And he thinks we'll never know. I think that's very interesting. All right, here's where they come from. Let's look at this map first, okay? So, yeah, kind of, you're right. Let's identify Stonehenge. So Stonehenge is right here. Right there. All right. Now we look at the key up top, Bluestone route. The straight or not dotted line is the probable route they took. So let's look at it. This is a long ways away. So this is from the mountain region that they found the bluestones. This is maybe how they got them there. The solid purple or blue line. That's a very curvy, windy way to get it there. Yes.
How did they know they moved?
Because they're not from that area. So how did they get there?
But if they're native, how do they know they wasn't made just at that spot?
Because they're not from that spot. There's no evidence of bluestones being from that spot or site anywhere near other than 150 miles away. And you know how they do carbon dating and strontium? We'll learn about strontium dating. They've been able to analyze the stones at Stonehenge and the stones at this mountain, and they're the same stones cut from the same area. Okay? So they're not from this area at all. There's no evidence of any bluestone or Saracen stone being from Stonehenge. Okay? Now, this is an alternative route. This would make sense, in my opinion, to use the water. Put it on a boat. That would make sense, right?
But was boats made back then?
Heavy, right? Yeah, they had boats back then. They're very heavy, so you'd probably have to take a long period of time to do it. You probably could only move one or two at a time, to be quite honest. But that makes more sense, but look how much longer it would take. Let's look. You have to go all the way around the Bristol Channel, basically around the perimeter. They may have used the River Avon. To me, that makes the most sense, but it would take a lot longer.
How long did it say?
It hasn't said yet, but that is a good question to ask. Here's the Saracen route. That's easy. Although, let's look at that. Saracens are 3 times as big as the bluestones. So even though the route from the Marlborough Downs is shorter from the Saracens, the gigantic ones, they're still way bigger. So that's still a really hard thing to do, is to move them. All right, let's read this passage now to see a little bit more about what we're talking about. Where the stones come from. Most of the bluestones are made out of a distinct form of rock called spotted dorolite. Scientists have been able to identify the rock by examining it under a microscope, as in the slides on set. Right here. This is what it looks like. So they're looking at these stones under microscopes, okay? Spotted dorolite is found only in the Preseli Mountains of southwest Wales. That's why they know. It is only found in that one singular area.
Where's Wales?
Wales is where we were just looking on the map right over here. Okay?
Is this just over?
Hold on.
Is this towns of Wales?
Yes. No, it's a country. Wales. That means the bluestones were brought or moved by natural forces, approximately 150 miles as shown on the map at right. Saracen stones still lie at the fields of the Marlborough Downs, 18 miles north of Stonehenge. This is the exact picture of the... Hold on. There we go. Right here. It are the bluestone area, okay? Is the bluestone area in the Preseli Mountains. Hold on. You got to wait until we're done with this. All right, let's talk about it on our passage, or our journal, I should say. Hold on. So we've got page 15. I have to unhighlight.
Is this going to be?
No, not quite. Not yet. So bluestones came from 150 miles away. Saracens from 18. Yes.
Why are the bees and places
Wait, say it again.
Why is the bee-
Oh, the font just does this. It does it in a few other areas too. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be interesting. I don't know. I don't know why. But why and how did they get them there? Question mark. But why and how did they get them there? Why did they choose those? Why didn't they get stone from another region? If they had it. That's a good question. And how did they get them there? We don't know yet. Don't panic. I'll be right back. So, all of the things that they use to create Stonehenge come from pretty far away. Makes it hard to figure out how they got them there. How did they transport the stuff? Even the archaeologist in charge of the Riverside Project doesn't think we'll ever figure this out. Now, have they not tried? Yes, we're going to read about that later. But they still don't think they're going to ever figure it out, which is crazy. No. They still don't know how they did it. They have a lot of other questions answered, but that's one of the questions they still have no answer for. How did they get them there and why? They had a theory for a long time that got disproven later. We'll read about it in the next few chapters. It describes it to us. Okay, I'm going to instruct how or on how to do this next activity for those of you who are at home in this video. So go ahead and click to slide 13. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch an excerpt, which means a small portion, hold on, of episode 1, My First Adventure. This is young Indiana Jones. How many of you have ever actually seen Indiana Jones? Really? That's more than I ever thought, actually. So Indiana Jones is an older movie series. It's about an adventurer named Indiana Jones, etc. So as we read or watch, this excerpt, you guys at home will watch the slide 12 video and it tells you what page number, what time stamp to stop on. And as we watch it, we're going to talk about realistic situations archaeologists would find themselves in the clip, and then unrealistic situations. What's totally false? Yes. Indiana Jones? He's not a real person. Harrison Ford. It's a movie. It's fake. It's okay. Yeah. In the old, yes. It's fake. And I think once you start watching this, Luke, you'll realize it's not real, okay? All right, so if you're at home, that's how you complete this. We're going to be doing this for you guys that are at home on Friday, okay? Hold on, let me undo our video.